biggest mistakes, but I will fall apart without you, and you'll do the same. Then under the stars you saw me. It was a simple feeling. You'd broken my heart, I was back in your arms. I was another being, knowing you're no good for me, but happy to keep on hurting. Right from the start, I love who you are. Happy to keep on hurting, and you hurt me. You hurt me. And we're hurting. And we're hurting. I know best, but you know better. Always in the dark. From all this cold and winter weather tearing us apart. And only if you hold me now we'll make it through the night. And we can wait till morning before we make up our minds. Then under the stars you saw me. It was a simple feeling. You'd broken my heart, I was back in your arms. I was another being, knowing you're no good for me, but happy to keep on hurting. Right from the start, I love who you are. Happy to keep on hurting, and you hurt me. You hurt me. And we're hurting.
Hello, everybody. My name is Piercing, and we are back into the Atlantic R6. I hope everyone's having a good week so far. We're almost there to the weekend, just not quite there. And I am joined here today with Highest, which this is our first time, and he's a little bit new. So, welcome, Highest. How you doing
How's
today?
everybody doing? I'm doing good. How are you doing, Pearson?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. My entire workspace got cleared. I don't know why, but yeah, some staff came in and just started pulling a whole bunch of shelves and stuff while I was studying for my CDL. So that was interesting. I have no idea what that was all about. But with that being said, we do have a match for you today. It's going to be a best of three into week 2, and we've got App State versus Seneca Polytechnic. Yes, let's talk about the teams a little bit, shall we? Let's see what these teams have as far as stats. I know you've been digging into it for a little bit now.
So, first band is Bank, followed by Cafe, followed by Layer, and then Border. And the first pick of the night is Night Haven Labs, which is App State's most played map. But something eye catching from Night Haven Labs is that they have a 3-12. They have a 25% win rate on attack, but a 76% win rate on defense. So that's going to be interesting. And the next map to come out of that is Clubhouse, which is interesting because they have yet to play. Seneca has yet to play Clubhouse on in AR6, and Decider being cons. I think that's just what got left because neither team has played cons yet.
Yeah, I mean, Consulate is going to be a definitely an interesting scenario, but Clubhouse, I'm not surprised one of the classic three did show up. But let's kind of talk a little bit more about Nighthaven Labs because that stat line you mentioned is certainly interesting because there's one thing that I preach a lot, which is that you need to know how to attack before you try to start setting up more elaborate defenses. And to me, I understand Nighthaven Labs is defender sided, but to have such a heavy swing where you're winning 75% of your rounds on defense, especially when the last time you played Nighthaven Labs, or at least the second to last time, or actually both of them really for that matter, against two separate teams, one against Penn State Blue and then one against St. Clair College. Both of them were really tight, right? 8-6 overtime, and then barely squeezing out regulation 7-5. That seems a little alarming to me for a first map pick. What do you think on that?
So it is a bit alarming, but I think if it all depends on one thing. If App State comes to play and they come to win their attacks, unlike they've been not been doing previously, then I think it could easily go App State's way. But if Seneca comes and says, "Hey, we're gonna take maybe 2 to 3 attacks," then they're just gonna end up fine.
Yeah, I really think the attack is going to be the big thing. But with that said, we are going to be starting off on the first map, Nighthaven Labs. I really am interested to see how the attack is going to be going out because it will actually be App State who will be starting off on the attack. So we're going to see how that unfolds out the jump, which does give a little bit of an advantage for the first round, right? It's much easier, in my opinion, to build momentum on attack, especially if everyone's kind of rusty, than if you were to try to do it on the second half where everyone's kind of now warmed up if they haven't been already. That doesn't really apply to the higher tier levels, but I would say for the collegiate level, when you've got studies and all this other crazy stuff going on, I think it 100% applies, especially now that SI has just recently concluded. But looking at the bands, we have Blackbeard and Damos off the table. I wouldn't say that's anything too crazy, right? Highest. I honestly would say this is pretty standard.
Yeah, I think Blackbeard is probably the most standard ban, and then the Deimos is a little bit interesting, but I think it just means that on the defensive side that App State is going to be roaming very heavily.
Hmm. I mean, you might as well. Why not, right? You've got Damos out of the way, and that's one of like the big roam clearers. Used to be Jackal, now it's Damos. You still
Hmm.
have Dekebi on the table, who has been getting banned quite a lot, though I don't believe as much on Nighthaven Labs. Of course, ending with Mira and Tubarao. Not surprised on the Tubarao. And the only reason I say that is because a lot of teams on attack have surprisingly been getting quite good at getting that IT wall open, although there have been a few notable exceptions across other leagues. But even if you're able to secure that wall getting open, Tuberel being able to stall things out so much causes a massive headache, right? Especially when you're going for a late setup, that can pretty much jeopardize it. So it makes things a lot easier going into the attack to set that up, which App State will have the benefit of playing that out. But could make the roam game a little bit more centralized if you have to deal with the walk-in opportunity like that.
It can be a
Yeah, but I mean, either which way, I feel like App State will have a more comfortable situation going into the attack. I don't think this is going to be anything particularly stressful for them. I mean, you do have the Tachanka, which can make things a little bit more tenuous if you're slower and more methodical on your push, which time will only tell how App State actually tries to tackle these attacks. I don't know. What do you think on how App State is going to try to approach this? Do we have any insights on what we could potentially see here?
I think it's going to be more of a standard roam clear, but honestly, I have no idea. I think that Varric's playing that Tachanka is just going to be playing to slow down App, and that might work because they seem that like if they're going to take all this time to roam clear, then it's just going to be all for nothing.
Pretty much. And the one thing that kind of scares me right now that I'm seeing is look how spread out they are. Zozik already taking front down. That's a pretty dramatic loss to take someone so early on. And wow, nice shot from Zozik to take Glue down as well. That's a second early on. I was just about to say I was a little shaky on the fact that App State was so spread out. And it looks like the consequences of that have already been realized. IT now looking to be possibly contested to try to get that wall open. However, you still have a lap holding that position actively, which is not going to make getting that wall open any easier, especially when you're already down 2 players, which is going to make things a bit tricky here. Oh, Bo barely missing the shot. Quick piece going out, trying to get it clear. Bo still alive, getting a little bit extra damage. Goes for the full swing from the left and able to take it. Zozik getting down. Bo, that's another player. Where's the refrag? Flacco takes Crayon. That does help the situation just a little bit. But I mean, this is far from ideal as a lap takes Flacco down. That's a refrag. Seneca pulling that off, not App State. And that's already a 1v4 situation. There's the vault where you got 3 players holding and Zozik with a 4K to shut that down for a very strong start and a troubling situation for App State. That's not the kind of start you want to see.
Yeah, honestly, just a poor job from App State, just trying to clear the roam. They brought the Doki, couldn't get the wall open. They had the Ash for the vert below, but they couldn't, they couldn't get through with that. They couldn't get the wall open at all. They had no pressure from anywhere, and they just got picked off by Zosik on the roam.
Yeah, that certainly makes things a lot more challenging. That's why I was kind of getting worried when I saw how spread out they were. We do see Bo switching on the Jackal, but let's get to the point. Do you think that's really going to make a difference having those composition change or a change for an operator like that? We didn't see him last round, I don't believe. But I mean, were you really what do you think? Were you expecting that kind of impact on one person roaming like that, or was that really just pure misstep as far as roam clearing procedures?
I think it was more of a misstep in roam clearing procedures. They kind of didn't have a plan. They kind of just ran at him, tried to take one-on-one gunfights with him, and just lost every single one. I think if they can, set up a pinch, set up a cross, pinch his guy off, then they could be fine. But going into more depth, this is App State's worst attacking site. They are 0-5 on this site in Atlantic.
Right, and that's what I was kind of expressing before as my concern is that, yes, they got attacked first, which I think provides the best opportunity to pick up some attack rounds. But I mean, with pacing like this, that's not really going to do you any good because you remember, you still got to win at least one attack round in order to win the game. You can't just survive off of defense the whole time, with one exception if App State starts overtime on defense, which I don't quite know if that is the case regardless. But this is still going to be a little bit tougher as now they're going to have to go for a potential top down here, which means a lot more spread out and a lot more intel that needs to be droned. Though they still have 8 drones at the helm to get this kind of information with one person doing the active droning, which certainly helps to make that a lot easier. And it does look like they are going to be able to spot Crayons, gets the vertical immediately. This is the closer play that App State sorely needs. You've also got one right outside the castle door. 2, that's going to put a lot of pressure. Front finally getting the revenge. Going to be able to take Sozik down, as well as Crayons. A great clear coming from App State. That's what I'm talking about right there. Big progress coming in for them, bringing it to a 2-person advantage before they've even fully mobilized down onto the second floor. But there's still one on the first floor, and that's going to be Aiden's. But Front takes that as well. Perfect clear coming in from App State right now. That's a devastating loss to them. Also, I said second floor, meant first floor. But regardless, 1 minute and 18 seconds, and already that is some big player losses. But then the question then becomes, what's the execution going to look like? You do have a little bit of vertical coming out, and even some basement presence. That's going to be huge from Front to really pinch out Plumber. And there's the vertical. Flacco able to take him down as well, leaving Alep to be the last one alive. And there's the clear. Where are you looking? App State pulling off a flawless round.
Honestly, just great clear from App State. They took the vert. They took the vert they needed. They got the vert onto the vert and cleared everybody off the vert, and they just walk down, take sight, pick, and it's easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the positioning from Seneca, they were making the same mistake as App State, being extremely spread out there, which pretty much meant easy pickings. They knew what they did wrong, which was just not really playing together. And that time, they really locked it in and got so much impact out of it, which is a perfect example of how you want your attack to go out. And that's actually a pretty big blow to Seneca, because this map is still defender-sided, and this is, without a doubt, App State's biggest choke point. So for them to pick up around this early on, that's alarming, right? I don't know. I don't really know what happened on Seneca. Maybe you could provide more insight on this, whether it was just complacency or maybe just stretching themselves way too thin. But I feel that losing an attack round to App State already sets the stage for them to win the map. Because when they go on a defense, remember, 75% of their rounds, that's really their strong suit.
I think that it's just it's a little we saw pure dominance from Seneca in round 1, and now we're seeing pure dominance from App State in round 2. So I think it's gonna be it might be one of those maps where they're just trading blows every single round.
Yeah, but are they going to be able to afford that? Whoa, okay, 2 spawn peaks. I guess they weren't too happy about getting cleared out that early. Both from Zozik and Plumber. And Zozik doing it again, taking front out before he can even vault in. I guess, hey, if when they get in the building they get too much presence, don't let them have presence in the first place. At least that seems to be Seneca's mindset. And it is having severe consequences, as App State is now down to 2 players before it's really even started. And even more aggression coming out from Plumber, looking to take yet another player and not even giving up the position. And there's the attempted clear. No shots connecting there. This is a scary situation for App State. Wow, and a great wallbang coming in from Crayon to take Yogu down as well. Seems like the whole roster is just lined up to prevent them from even getting to the building, but one does manage to do so. That's going to be Flacco. But when you've got players on both second and first floor, the clear is going to be quite arduous and gets caught with their pants down as Zozik will bring forth the flawless round.
Zesic having a monster game so far. Already at I think 7 or 8 kills, and it's just looking like it's gonna be one of those games where they just keep trading blows. But who knows how App State's gonna recover from this one?
Yeah, it seems like right now it's just kind of scaling Rome at the moment. That's what it feels like, I would say, right? Kind of working your way up on Rome, right? Seneca kind of just sat comfortably. App State kind of walked into them trying to clear. Then they were able to catch those rogue roamers. So roaming scaled up, right? Now it's outright building denial. And I feel like App State should, in theory, be able to just wipe this out, right? It's kind of been more of a cat and mouse kind of game, and App State's just kind of chasing Seneca's tail as they just further ramp up their realm aggression. But having outright building denial like that is peak aggression. So the question becomes, will that be sustainable? Because for a lot of teams, the answer is typically no. I mean, do you think this is going to last, or do you think App State's going to sweep this out pretty quickly to shut it down?
I think what we saw in round 2 is what will be the key to App State's victory. They got in the map, they got all 5 of their players in the map, and they started clearing out people, and they started winning ones. If they can continue to do that, if they can do that to start off with, they'll be fine. But if they struggle to get in the map, struggle to take the space they need, then it's going to be a long day for App State.
Certainly. And I mean, that's already a big start, getting a lot of damage out onto Plumber. That was that denial presence that they were trying to build up. And there it is, as we see Zozik already right on the tail towards Kitchen, able to take one down. That's going to be Bo already out of the picture. And Zozik going to be falling back in the basement front. Going to be taking quite a bit of damage there in turn as well towards lobby first floor. That is kind of a much better situation for App State. Yes, they're set back by losing Grim, which is execute utility that is now unavailable to them. But regardless, they still have building presence, which is a big turn for them. And oh my gosh, Owlip slapping back against front. That's going to allow him to continue bandit tricking. That's a big setback. Wait. Oh no. Looks like the bandit got jammed as well when it got placed down, allowing the Flacco to pick up Owlip. Might have been a bug there. I'm not 100% sure. That didn't look quite right to me. But regardless, that certainly helps the situation, despite having front down now as well, taking one in turn. A 3v4, a much more doable situation, but Seneca's not giving up the aggressive playstyle. It's paid them off thus far, and it doesn't look like they're going to back off anytime soon, especially with the droning slowing down. They only have 4 drones remaining with 1 minute 13 seconds, which certainly starts to put a strain. There, Plummer takes Yogu as well, but there's a great walk in despite the fire from Flacco. That fire doesn't exactly stop someone from waltzing in, which is exactly what happened. Blue taking Crayon, that's going to even it back into a 2v2. Seneca overplaying the part a little bit. There's a certain time frame where you want to scale back, and that's typically around 1 minute 30, and that's not what happened there. Kept the front going, and it cost them the player advantage. However, Zozik still not done. Seeing him walk back, managed to take Glue, and a heavy walk-in coming in from Flacco. Very aggressive, but that's actually big because Zozik is still on the first floor. If Flacco can defuse or get Aiden's down, that's going to be big, and we're seeing just that now going for the defuse, but Nitro in hand, which could be rather scary as he's stuck close to Pillar. Nitro goes out, and it connects. Aiden's taking Flacco down. That's exactly what I was kind of expecting there, as that Pillar is Nitro Central.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest plays of the round is Zosik on that roam again, just denying them getting in below, holding that space, just wasting all that time, just making it so much harder for App State to attack the objective.
Well, yeah. So it does look like Seneca is still going to be holding ground on that aggression, but the thing is, it's not really tempered, right? We've kind of seen an untempered solo roam. Then we saw the untempered building denial. But the difference here is that App State saw that coming, but still it resulted in a round loss. But it wasn't exactly tempered as far as the later half of the round. So they were good in not fully committing to it like they did before. Again, not really a sustainable habit. Eventually, you're going to get shut down for that, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. That kind of mentality, right? But what makes this now even more challenging for App State is Seneca is now getting ahead of the curve, right? They overplay the part in the second half, and in theory, that could have been round causing, but because they didn't oversell it too much, they still kept the round. So now the Rome is much more solidified. There's still a tail for App State to follow, but it's getting increasingly distant. Does that align with what you're thinking on what we're seeing so far, this kind of chasing the tail situation, or do you think we're going to see a big upwind shift?
I think I don't think we're gonna see a big upwind shift. I think what Seneca is doing is fine, and if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Pretty much. And I mean, that's kind of where their biggest weak point is. The main thing is just not really giving them too much ground to where they can stack it on defense. That's going to be really where the challenge is for them. But keep in mind with Two Brow Band, if Seneca can really, you know, standardize their attack, that is going to prove a challenge for App State on their defense because the bands on defense are going to hurt them a lot more than it's going to hurt Seneca right now, which clearly shows considering that they're currently 2 rounds ahead with 2 more to go. And we're going to see we have front over towards electrical looking to make that push. Does take quite a bit of damage. Same with Zozik, but no clear so far. And all alone, too. And you got a third player towards IT as well. This is a 3-way crossfire, not an ideal situation. I don't think they know what they're lining themselves into. Nice nade goes out, deals a lot of damage into Crayons. Does manage to get away, though. That's a bit of a setback. And there's a swing from Aiden's. Gets completely caught out. Same with Zozik and Crayon. That's the overplaying the part I was talking about, as that puts Seneca at a significant disadvantage. Gets a little bit of damage out, but now completely exposed to the position. We see Ash front trying to clear the job. Does succeed. Takes Aleph down. Plumber takes Glue, but is the last one alive. This is now going to be a 1v5 on one of the most open sites in this map. And there's the clear from front. Does manage to spot Plumber, who does manage to get away. The fuse are now down. 42 seconds on the clock. This is the nightmare scenario for a clutch, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 bullet-to-bullet headshot trade as App State will take that round.
Honestly, very solid round by App State. I just want to highlight the team play from App State. They had 2 people downstairs ready for the cross onto games. With the games hatch open, they nade out the guy on pillar. He drops, and they just pinch out the guys. They take the space, fixing all the mistakes that they had on those 2 upstairs attacks. And it's looking better for them now.
There was still a little bit of mobility that I saw from Seneca, the ability to kind of fall back relatively unscathed until the follow-up came through on the first floor, which is exactly what you were talking about. But I mean, I think that's an opportunity for them to get a 4-2. If not, I think App State going into this with a 3-3 is going to be a massive blow to them. That was another round that they couldn't really, afford to lose. It's a shakeup that I don't think is going to really benefit them. Would I say 2-4 is standard? Kinda. But a 3-3 is for sure going to be the best fighting odds for Appalachian State because let's be honest, the odds of them getting the lead going into defense was not looking hot even before the game started. But now it's looking like it could be even more risky.
Yeah, and I think with them getting those 2 rounds, it could be the nail in the coffin, or it might not help at all. But we'll see after this round. I think if they get the 3-3 split App State, then I think it could be over for Seneca, but we'll see.
Yeah, wow, Zozik just doesn't give up. 10-2 takes front down off the rip. That's that aggressive play style that he loves to take up. Same with Plumber, who's currently 4 and free, looking to get a little bit more blood on their hands. Goes very aggressively here. See the wide swing. Bo taking minimal damage. Zozik now down to extremely low HP, but there's still one outside holding, waiting to cut him off, but holds it a little bit too late. Oh, never mind. Bo goes for the drop and manages to catch Zozik. Perfect timing coming out from there, but Plumber now playing the aggressive. Now that Zozik's down, manages to take Glue in turn. That brings it to a 3v4, a one-player disadvantage, but now with building presence, App State has a lot much more room to play with. You still got one on the first floor. That's going to be Plumber. Does manage to fall all the way back down to basement stairs, giving App State full clearance in order to play on the vertical. With Yogu still up on the Ram, there's a lot of opportunity still available to them with 1 minute and 20 to go. And that's the thing I would like to give praise to Seneca for. Backing off, right? Now is the time that you want to fall back. You got the player advantage, and so let them do what they must. Push back if you have to, but this is a good tempo to fall back, not giving up unnecessary numbers, which is crucial as we start to approach the end of this first half. They do have the ping on Valkyrie, and that's going to allow for even more vertical, but so far, no one has been caught out. With 45 seconds, they will have to make some kind of move towards basement real soon. And with no hard breach available, the vertical is pretty much all that they've got. And it does look like they're going to be hunting down Alap here, who's right below that vertical being set. Doesn't look like they have quite eyes on that position. Smoke's now going down. Looks like they'll be ready for the drop. And we'll see that Flacco going for the drop. But there's one close double window. Nitro goes out. Doesn't connect. And that just exposes the position there of Alap. And there's a clear, but unsuccessful. Able to hold the ground in that key position towards pillar. Basement with 13 seconds to go. Now has to walk into a shotgun. One holding the feet. Holds the shotgun. Comes out. Massive damage, but can't get the follow-up. That's going to be a triple kill as it's now down to the 2v1. 3 seconds to go. Has to go for the plant. Can he find a spot to go for a plant with such little time? And he does. Plumber now going to have to take the initiative and just to catch one. No time remaining as that clear will go through. Seneca securing the 4-2 lead.
And great job by Seneca for backing off, as you said. They got 2 picks. They fell off. Varix, all he had to do was sit in the corner and wait. He got his one on the dude holding, and after that, it was just over from there. All he had to do was kill the planner, and it was Seneca round.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's really all you had to do, especially with the intel gap that was available on basement. They banked heavily on trying to find these vertical players, but didn't really have the info to start seeking them out, which made that a not so desirable position, which pretty much made that clear next to impossible. Because remember, basement has a lot of nooks and crannies that a player can hide from. Even on vertical, there's spots that are not quite within reach, which is why you want to have at least one player below who can capitalize on those hiding spots. But because of the number differential, right, a 3 versus 4, that makes that a lot more tricky as you can kind of cross and pinch that player out. That's an opportunity that was available to Seneca thanks to the successful roam and the properly timed fallback. Now with the swap, it's going to be up to App State to start racking in rounds. This is where they have a more distinct advantage as far as their playoffs go from what we saw in week earlier in week 1.
Yeah, I think one thing to highlight on the attack for Seneca is that they're bringing two heart breaches, which is kind of becoming meta for this site. It's very important to bring as much detail to get through these walls and open up as many angles as possible for this site.
Yeah, and you certainly have to account for the possibility that one player, one of the hard breachers, could go down, which is always something you can't exactly sleep on. So, honestly, a smart play to ensure that wall goes open, which from the sound of it, looks like they were able to get that open. You still have the or the office wall that has to get taken out as well. Intel going to confirm there's still one holding aggressively close towards main lobby. Doesn't go for the push quite yet. It doesn't actually look like they have IT wall, but now or I'm sorry, that conference room wall, they do manage to get that open. All walls now popped open. And this is going to provide them at least the groundwork to get the ball rolling here. Seneca playing this really slow, and we're not seeing too much aggression from App State. A lot of kind of staggering. You do have two nitros on the board coming from Flacco and Yagu, so there's a bit of a reason to hold back. But once they gain this conference space, that is going to prove trouble for App State, as that's where things get ugly. Flacco going to be able to take Crayon. That's quite big, taking out at least one player who can offset those on-site walls. And that also introduces a slowdown, which is less than ideal when you're pretty much playing this slow from outside the building. You have to get that walk in eventually, but it does look like Zozik knows there's one close. That's going to be Flacco looking to try to clear out any of these troublemaking players, and that's going to be Flacco completely caught off guard, holding that vertical. You've got to account for the clear eventually, and that didn't happen. That's going to even things out. Plumber taking Yagu, goes to the walk-in, takes a double kill. That's going to be massive. Now holding back command center. That's going to be Bo holding that position, and they now have full side presence. Takes that as well. That's the triple kill, and now front is just completely caught off guard all the way in warehouse balcony. Gonna have to take the long fight here. Now, those zombies not exactly coming to his benefit. Has to take this IT fight. You've still got another player close as well. Front does manage to catch Alep though, but has to push through IT, which is the choke point. Does spot one blow. That's gonna be thanks to the pings. Gets a little bit of damage out, but Plumber will take the initiative for a 4K to finish it off. Great initiative.
And honestly, Varix was the playmaker there too, as you have all of your chips basically on one side, and you have two people in IT just walking through because the App State guys have no idea that it's happening from there. They all think the play is coming from downstairs, water, connector, main side, and they just kind of forget about the people coming IT. They just forget that the IT wall is open, and Varix just walks in and kills four.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really big benefit to them, to be 100% honest. Having that opportunity to take that kind of space, that level of displacement is pretty crucial, especially for Seneca. Picking up the first attack round this early on pretty much sets the tone and the tempo right in their favor without really much recourse for Appalachian State because they are down, right? That's now, what is that, 3 rounds to the disadvantage? This pretty much puts them in a situation where they really don't have a choice but to try and pretty much cling on to dear life. Defense was supposed to be their magnum opus, and so far, the cards are showing to be junk. Now, as we move on to this next round, going to be played into basement. It looks like Seneca is going to be going for a more direct take onto site this time around instead of what we saw from App State, where they were going for a more top-down approach, which is a little bit more aggressive, and it does seem that they'll be able to get that wall open quite quickly. Nitro goes out, but there's no one really there to be able to capitalize on that. So that's a Nitro down and nothing to show for it, especially since that was the one and only that was available. So that didn't really play off, which gives much more ammo to this aggressive push. But it is a bit one-sided at the moment, a funnel, and a big one too, especially when you have front playing towards warehouse first floor, though it does seem like they have some accountability for that. Potentially, you still got one holding outside on first floor, so we could potentially see a clear onto that player. But The problem is, right now, Crayon's completely unsupported, so that fight will pretty much come out full circle and raw, which means there's really not a whole lot. Wait, are they actually already? No, they're not. Never mind. Plumber takes bow. That's going to be big. They now have that power position, but Flacco able to push it back. That's going to be quite a big slowdown. However, with Flacco going down now, and that's a one-player advantage unless they can get that revive, which is not looking likely as they've already vaulted straight into Sight Pillar. That's going to be a big problem, especially when they have that kill confirmed. This is a big problem for them as Aleph shuts down front, holding those feed holes, takes another. That's a sweep from Seneca, not even giving them the chance to retake.
And I think the big thing that set that round apart is that the info that they had on the hatch for Animus kinda that was their kind of win. That was App State's win con, and they sent somebody upstairs to clear him. And after that, all they had to do was walk in. They popped a couple Goyos, they cut off angles, and it was just taking sight from there and planted by the planting in the corner by Animus wall.
Yeah, it just seems like there's really big gaps in these positions that is really hitting them hard. Right? One thing that should really never happen, and that's the job of the anchors, is they shouldn't be able to waltz in onto these power positions. You have to hold a pressure in order to deny that. And from the composition that they had, there really wasn't a means to do that. You didn't see it really Goyos. You did have a Malusi there, but it really didn't do much. We have so many numbers keeping an eye on the feed holes towards Exo. That doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. And it does look like they're going to be running it back, but this is big time trouble, right? We knew the attack was not likely going to be anything spectacular, but this is so far a bloodbath for them, as Seneca hasn't lost a single attack round. They pretty much have to change something up dramatically, and from their composition, they really haven't changed a thing. Unless I'm missing an op change, which feel free to correct me if I am, but I don't think they've changed a single op this entire time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to highlight here is that they didn't really have they had little to no roam presence last round, and this round they're bringing a little bit of roam presence. But you would think that would be good, but also Seneca is switching up their style of attack. They brought a ram. They're looking for that vert. They're looking to get that wall open, and they're looking to just plant and take a normal default takedown vending.
Right, and we really haven't seen a whole lot of what their roam can do. We've seen a lot of passiveness and early fallback from the only time that we got to witness it, which was in command center for the first round of the second half. So I really don't know how that's going to turn out. We do see that direct animus presence yet again, and I'm sure that's going to draw quite a bit of attention from App State, but that could be what they're intending here. As like you said, there's also that vertical presence as well, which does kind of stagger things positionally for Seneca just a bit, but whether or not it will be sustainable is the other question, as we see Bo now fully falling back as well. Yogu going to take quite a bit of damage, near half HP. Blue does manage to take Zozik down, but Yogu goes out in turn. So Crayon also getting taken out. That's going to be a player advantage for App State, a much needed respite for them, especially now that Ram is gone, which mitigates that vertical. A lot of damage going on to Aiden's. The vertical position from front being completely unaccounted for. Does manage to slip by with only a sliver of health remaining. Plumber now spotting front, looking to get that clear. Aiden's catching one, could possibly see another. Just playing this so patiently. Front, you gotta be ready for that! Plumber, do you think Plumber's gonna let you get away and abandon their post? No way, Jose. Now, the tables turned. Seneca at the advantage. Bo gonna have to hold off Animus while you still have one more player above that can significantly disrupt things. And with Vertical still available, thanks to the Breach charges as well as the Soft Breach, that still allows for some needed presence. However, Alep gonna get caught by that goo mine. Aiden's going down. It's slowly falling apart. If they can't find these players, Plumber gets taken out. Alep takes Bo. This is a close situation. No diffuser in hand. And actually, Aiden's is still revivable, which is big. But with 13 seconds remaining, both at very low HP, all it takes is one well-timed push from Glue, and that could spell disaster, especially with the Goo Mine. They know where this is going to be coming from. They have to go for the plant eventually, and that's going to be out in the open. There's the swing. Aleps doesn't connect. There's one pillar, and Glue knows, and he's going to be able to take it. No questions asked. App State keeping it alive for just a little bit longer.
And I think that the biggest problem that Seneca had on their attack is that they didn't really do a good job of clearing out their extension. They had the Jaeger on that extension and they just kind of neglected to at least either send him back down and send him back into sight or just, you know, kill him. So, I mean, they got flanked. Crayon was holding the vert, and then now they're just like kind of in a losing battle. They retook the vert, and now the wall is open, but they can't enter. They can't do anything off the wall if they have vert on it.
Mm-hmm. That definitely complicates things. I mean, you just kind of had to look at the way they laid that out. Once they had that setup, those eyes onto basement, they didn't really have anyone who could actually flush it out. And we didn't see a whole lot of droning down there either, which certainly complicated it. Seems like this kind of late round droning is a recurring problem for both teams. But let's not forget the facts here. Seneca's still at match point with the ability to close it out. Just a little bit of refinement, and it's certainly within grasp, as that was still at the end of the day very, very close round. But remember, I do believe it was App State who took this round. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. So there is that element of a higher chance of pulling it through. Oh, no, no, no. I'm sorry. They took it, right? They've only won one defense, which was last round. So
Yeah.
Seneca did take this map, and App State hasn't played this quite as much as they've doubled down on basement, which fortunately for them did turn around. And now here comes the clear. This is much more direct presence than what we saw before. A lot of pre-firing coming out from Plumber, getting a decent amount of damage on the Flacco, bringing it to half HP. But I think this immediate presence is probably going to throw off App State. Nitro goes out, long arms it, get a lot of damage on the Plumber, though can't quite confirm that kill here. Knows that there's lot close by over in conference. A lot of presence. Wall gets opened as well. That's a lot of prying eyes. Palmer goes down, but is in perfect position to go for the revive. And Flacco not anywhere near to be able to nitro that out, which could have been big relief for them. Lion scan goes through. Doesn't look like they really catch anybody there. It's just a matter of getting that much needed presence. And oh, this could be dangerous. Plumber with the nade in hand, and you've got one prone close to window. All it takes is a spot, and there it is. Flacco completely exposing himself, gets taken out. If it wasn't from that, it'd have been a drone and a nade. Very unfortunate positioning. Glue going down as well. However, a sweep coming in for Seneca as Zozik is down. Same with Aleph and Plumber. Those are two big confirmed kills as they push back onto conference. That's the buffer that App State really needs here. But with a minute and 13 seconds, it now becomes a matter of not overplaying the part and not allowing an opening for a slip up, which we have seen play out before coming in from Plumber, which proved disastrous for them. Any kind of opening walk in could easily rip them to shreds here if they're not careful. Two smokes still in hand. That's going to be on Aiden's. So they still have some execute material available to them. We'll see them rotate all the way into electrical. Aiden's going to be able to get there, and that could potentially be the off position that could be sorely needed. And you'll see Yogu out in the open, but manages to still survive, take Aiden's front, clearing Zozik as well. That was a huge clear for them as it's now down to a 1v3. Gonna be coming from Crayon. Tries to get an aggressive pick onto Command Center. Doesn't manage to succeed in that though. Looking for the displacement. Finds a prone shot but gets cut off by front. Over by Warehouse Balcony. Still holding on. Much closer and much more doable for them.
Yeah, still holding on. App State is doing great round. They had the perfect cross on Zosic and I forgot who it was. A Thermite. I think it was a lap. Um, Perfect cross on that. I think what really went wrong for Seneca there is like everything they did wrong right on the first time attacking that they did wrong on this time. They didn't send anybody on like a pinch or a cross. They kind of just put everybody in one place and said, "Hey, we're pushing this side and we're gonna take it." And App State just did not want that to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, funnel is kind of a dangerous situation no matter what. That's kind of a worst case scenario for any attacker, but Seneca decided to go through with it, which I have to agree with you. That's not really what you want to do. And App State correctly called that out and completely cut them off from gaining any serious grounds there, which forced a way too late rotate into IT, but at that point, it was far too late. And so Seneca has to still play this attack in a more traditional sense, especially now that you're on first floor attacking, which makes things a lot more unpredictable, to put it lightly. I mean, do you think that we're going to see that kind of funnel again on the first floor? I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I think Seneca is gonna keep it semi default, take upstairs like they're doing right now, and just clear out the vert, take the vert, jump inside, and plant. That's all they need to do.
Well, yeah, but that's always the theory, right? Is if you're going to play that default, just take that top, but you still have two players holding. That's going to be both front and I believe that was Flacco also holding above. But oh, immediately gets caught. Flacco going to take quite a bit of damage from Plumber. But you've got the player holding close. That's going to be front ready for the follow-up. Great team play coming in from App State, and that's a huge setback as you lose pretty much all of your vertical potential, which is a setback, as well as Aleb going down. Seneca's attack is just collapsing here, losing yet another player. This is kind of what we were talking about before, not really setting up these well tight knit attacking formations, just kind of funneling here. And we'll see Flacco get away taking another. Refrag does come through. That's from Aiden. However, the damage still mostly done substantially. Two-player advantage. Aiden's low HP. They've effectively gotten really nothing done for the amount of damage that has occurred here. This is where you have to kind of lock it in, and they're really not doing that. Selling this opportunity to bring it into a win as Yogun Flacco sweep it. App State now 1 round away from overtime.
And it's just a lot of silly mistakes coming from Seneca. Like opening the castle to expose yourself and then immediately getting on a drone with no cover. It's just a lot of silly stuff that they could be tightening up on, but they're just, as you said, we're not seeing like a tightly knit attack. We're kind of just seeing people do what they want to do, and then they're just dying solo. Kind of like how we saw App State on attack, they would just push into Zosic one by one by one by one and all die.
Well, yeah, and I've got a little name for that condition, that kind of behavior, right? I call that individualism. When everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, running default, but when you're playing against a team strength, you can't really afford that. You have to try to be a little bit more coordinated and not let them trample you like this, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
not seeing a lot of refrags coming out from Seneca. This is where things really start to trip you up, right? You're holding positions for too long, not getting impact from those holds, and then when they push back, it comes to devastating effects, right? You've got players hitting you from below, and you have two players holding the same position and don't feel the need to leave that room at all when you're stacked there. That kind of presence and really endurance is unacceptable as an attacker. You have to break that down. And so I have to wonder if Seneca is just as rough on the helm for this as App State, because they had the momentum and they've completely blown it at this point with no timeout either. So it really just comes down to this 1 round before things truly do become a toss up.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna hopefully see Seneca clear up some of those mistakes by trying to clear this roam as Varix is kind of looking at this Jaeger.
Mm. Yeah, that's rough, and with no follow up either. They do manage to take Yoga down, which is big. That's not the player they're looking for. Plumber, oh no, doesn't spot front at all. That was the player you were looking for going down. However, that Yagu pick does get confirmed, but Crayon goes out in turn. Glue gonna be eliminated as well. That's gonna be thanks to Zozik. This is a 2-for-2, a very aggressive hold coming from App State. And Seneca does, for the most part, seem to have cleared all of the above presence over in first floor. With a minute 35 seconds, that's a bit early to fall back. Yes, the pushback was significant, but now they're going to have free reign on vertical. Though, to be fair, the only thing they have to pop open reinforced hatches is Maverick, which is really slow. You've lost your RAM, so there is a bit of a substantial slowdown. So that could be actually a pretty good call here coming from App State to just leave it alone. But the problem then becomes, how do you get back down with such slow speed, and can App State hold their numbers up? That will really be the crucial presence. And here's the thing too, you still got one on the first floor. That's going to be front. And I don't know if they're aware of that. And so far, considering they've got 5 drones remaining, and we're not seeing a lot of droning from anyone, I don't think they have that intel. But they do go for the full rotate back outside, which offsets that pressure a little bit, but it means you're going to have to send it pretty dang fast, as that vertical you just set up is now going to be used up against you. Bo going down. Zozik will pick that up for a double kill. 33 seconds on the clock, and there's the vertical kicking off, but can't secure a pick. That's a big setback, as now they know there's going to be one falling back towards X and miss. That was the wild card, and it's now gone as the full assault begins. Flacco going to sustain substantial damage. However, front does manage to get Zozik down despite having to fall back here. That's going to be a slowdown. 13 seconds remaining. Goes down, but that's the refrag from Flacco. 10 seconds remaining. Aidens has to go for a defuse here. But
I think he's outside the map.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't have a way to get in. Nope. He never set that up. Ah. Those wild cards, they're not playing off. The vertical didn't work, but he was unaccounted for, so Flacco still managed to catch one. But holding outside with that little of time, I don't know about that one, Chief. But regardless, the results are pretty clear. Now, we're going to see an overtime situation unfold, as neither team could make any real gains on the attack, and that's big trouble for Seneca, as it will be App State who starts on defense, which is a big boon to them.
Yeah. Honestly, it's been very, very rough to watch. Rough to watch Seneca kind of just try to cut corners, and like playing against a team like App State, like they are not just gonna let you walk all over them. They're not gonna let you walk at them without intel. They're not gonna let you just run them down, basically.
Yeah, you're not going to get gimmies like that. No way on earth. And I just have to say, it's kind of baffling to see how both teams have struggled with intel here significantly. Seneca had 5 drones remaining, and clearly none of that was put into good use. And we've also seen both teams struggle with putting on some level of horizontal pressure when the vertical was kicking in. When you have that, you're not going to be able to just clear every single angle by holding above. That's way too much space, especially with no intel, which allows for pushback, whether it's from nitros or counter vertical. There's just too many opportunities for it to go wrong when there's hard spots you will not be able to see. That's not how you handle basement. You got to move down eventually, but it's not happening. Though, to be fair, the numbers do drop quite drastically prior to that point, which does mitigate that. But when the opportunity is available, neither have really taken it. So this does put App State at a slight edge, the fact that they get to defend on both or twice into overtime. However, Seneca now has a lot more experience with this, and App State might be rusty on their attack. But again, just the attack track record has been so poor at this point. I really don't know how this is going to play out. But if I had to guess, App State will probably be quite comfortable here. We're going to sustain a bit of damage. That's going to be from that warehouse position outside the window. There's the vault looking to get aggressive. Manages to catch Glue. That's a crucial pick, but there's still one hiding tucked in the warehouse. That's going to be front. Doesn't look like they have the intel. Know that he's here. That could be big, and it goes through as front catches Zozik. However, big devastation from Seneca closer on site, wiping everyone out. And with Yogu completely cut off, Seneca actually turns out the attack.
Going back to what was working early in the game, just using that aggression but controlling it. They knew somebody was top rafter. They say, hey, 3, 2, 1, count it down, jump in on him, he's dead. And then after that, you have IT open, you have more pressure, and you just keep like funneling in from there. You keep snowballing the pressure that you already have. And that was very well played by Seneca.
Yeah, I mean, talk about literally the perfect switch bait, right? Or the bait and switch. That's exactly what you're looking for, right? You want to offset, and that's big for Seneca, as now App State is right back at where they started. They've got to win an attack. They've had a pretty persistent loss streak here with a little bit of shakeup towards the end of the first half, right? We see the last 3 rounds, or yeah, or towards the later half of the first game, they were able to take one and then towards the beginning. So I mean, pretty inconsistent, but regardless, only picking up 2 attack rounds. Seneca picked them up cleanly, as we saw here with the overtime first round, and out the jump on the first or the beginning of the second half. So are we really surprised by that? The real surprise is, will App State be able to accomplish an arduous task, take an attack round? Because if they do, there's hope. But that's kind of a big ask due to the looming inconsistency that they've had up to this point.
Yeah, and I don't think they've won an attack round on this side either, so this might be very hard for them to do this time. But it also could come with like some positives. They've seen it twice. Now they just gotta like execute on what they know. They're gonna try to get this wall, but they've struggled with it before, and they're still not gonna get it.
The thing that confuses me is why neither player has went below to secure that. Well, we did see that from Seneca, but App State, they have never really done this a single time. The thing for Seneca that's confusing is not really having someone there to cover that goes through. What it does look like this time around, it's going to be Zozik, and I guess you don't really need to hold that when there's nobody taking that position. That's usually how things start out if the wall is struggling to get opened. And indeed, that's what we're kind of witnessing here. Not being able to get that wall open, and that is stalling them for quite a lot of time. As Oza goes for the roam, knows that there's one just completely out in the open, and that's going to be Bo. Thanks to that deep roam, takes another. That's going to be front. This is the aggressive roam that we've seen them pull off so early on. Coming into full swing, does finally get caught out by Glue. Manages to get that refrag, but with 2 down, that does put him at a disadvantage, which is less than viable circumstances, especially with you having one player completely on their own, while still not open with a minute remaining. This is a very weak setup coming through for Seneca. No conference presence, no electrical presence, just now trying to get this wall open, and it looks like they do manage to get that off this time around, which is big. That helps them quite a bit, but they still need to have some kind of push through. And Flacco goes down, try to goes for that cheeky prone pick, doesn't happen. And this is forcing a dire situation. Diffuser on warehouse, the Goyle canister. That means there's only going to be about 5 seconds to be able to pick up and secure diffuser. They have to get a big clear. Oh, it does look like the fire has cleared up. I guess that was popped a lot earlier. But regardless, or it's a texture glitch. I don't know. They're going to have to get some big presence in here and a lot of sweeping kills immediately. But they're still stuck by warehouse, where we see Plumber take out Yagu, and it's going to be all up to Glue, who's all alone. Seneca shutting down the comeback from App State, securing the first game.
And just great map by Zosik and Varix just dropping 36 kills combined. Honestly, they were the reason that Seneca won this game, because I know Crayon's not going to do anything about that. Anyways, um, but 36 combined from Zosik and Varix, just an insane game for both of them.
Yeah, that is some big time kill count coming from both of them. That's quite insane. But I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot to be learned from on the attack for both sides, and even a little bit on the defense for Seneca, right? We've seen a lot of splintered plays, and that wasn't really doing them any good at all. But I think this next map will be a lot cleaner. You're on Clubhouse, but again, that individualism, doing whatever you want, right? Kind of doing your own thing. That's not what wins you standing. Not even close. I mean, sure, it may or may not get you a win, but that's not going to fly as you get higher up where you need to be much more tight knit. So there's a lot of coordination work that has to be done, but we could possibly see that. And Nighthaven could just be a fluke as we do look to move on to game two. But before that, we're going to go on a quick break. So gives you some time to take a quick breather after that heart wrenching pendulum swing. And we'll be right back.
Out of wonder, where are you now? Where am I now? Lost in borrowed time, chasing my shadow. Where are you now? Are you hiding in used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. I'm so in my got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. I miss you. Got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own. I'm so in my got so used to being on my own. Got so used to being on my own.
You felt like home to me, and this all felt real, truly.
All right, and we are back. Welcome. We are now going to be heading into Clubhouse in just a second. Hyas, what are we thinking as far as going into this map? I think this is going to be similarly close, but I feel that coordination is going to be king here.
I think we might be surprised by App State. I've have a little bit of personal experience playing App State on Clubhouse, and I can tell you right now that they are not. This is one of their maps that they would have picked if Nighthaven wasn't on the board.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, a lot of teams, I feel, put way too much effort into that map just because everyone knows it and no one's doing anything different. Unless you're going to pull some crazy crap on the fly, I don't think it's worth the investment. Unless you're just getting the fundamentals down as a new team, which could be the case. I doubt it, to be 100% honest though. So, I mean, that's great and all, but long term probably not going to do a whole lot, but we'll get to see that in just a moment. Basic band still going out, exact same. Blackbeard, Deimos. I mean, these are all very popular operators to ban. So is anyone surprised by that at all? I wouldn't say so. But what about defense? Do you think we're going to see something a little more unexpected, or are you thinking just, Azami, Cade, or
I
Mira,
think it's
something of
gonna
the
be
like?
like Azami, Mira, maybe Cade. There goes Azami.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how the ball rolls on these three maps. Again, if you're gonna run default, why change anything up? Though, you know what I love to see, which I haven't in a while? I love to see when teams will go for a target ban that directly counters a key strat that they cooked up. That is exciting as hell. But you don't get to see that too much. Usually it's either target bans or it's kind of the default. That's usually how we roll around here. But with that said, App State will be starting off on basement. Might as well go out with a bang, right? On your strongest site, which is fair because you don't want to take a risk on Clubhouse to build momentum, right? That coordination boost is dangerous on this map. Usually you get a full rotation and with maybe the occasional shakeup on cash, and then it kind of naturally goes downhill from there. That's typically what we expect, right?
Yeah. I think genuinely and honestly, I think this is probably the most attacker-sided map in the pool right now. I think whatever team has more coordination on the attack is going to be the one that wins the game. And we saw a little bit of glimpse from App State last game, and we saw a little bit from Seneca last game. But we want to see like who can actually nail down the attacks this game. And
Pretty
honestly,
much.
I think it'll be Seneca.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I really do think it's Seneca because if you can't really lock it down, your coordination, I don't really care who has the coordination edge. It doesn't matter. It's going to be pretty much a pissing contest. That's exactly what it's going to come down to. So I think that's kind of irrelevant. Maybe a little bit relevant on defense, but certainly not when it comes to attack. And so we do see they're going for that top down clear. And you've got two players above, which is bold. Actually, a third as well on first floor. That's going to be Flacco, Bull, and Glue. That's a lot of investment to try to hold that, which is a little bit scary when you've got the Kebby on the board. That's going to be coming from Zozik, even more terrifying. And there's the walk in. Oh my gosh, Glue completely misses it. However, the ping comes in. They know there's going to be one coming in for the clear. And there it is. The shot's coming out. Crayon going to sustain significant damage. But remember, Glue's back in the corner. And with no support, it's going to be a raw fight to the death. Glue going to take damage from Jim Window. Now going to be stuck in a rock and a hard place. Right in a predictable position. Goes for the pre-swing. Takes a little bit more damage, but no clear coming out as Flacco will come in to save the day, taking out Crayon, and there's the walk up as Zozik will secure Glue, and it's a full sweep coming in, but Flacco pushing back a little bit, manages to stay alive, takes Zozik down, and falls back for the refrag. That's going to be a 2-2 trade, and with a 1 minute 30-second fallback, that is right in line with what you want to see, especially when you still have to make it the first floor. This is actually a really good hold in favor of App State. Seneca was just a little bit too slow on the draw to account for that bedroom player. A lot of presence there, and it did bite them just a little bit, but they were able to push through it, and now we're seeing the secret flood coming in. Two players coming in. That's going to be both Alp and Plumber, but they don't have anything ready for that blue player. Oh, but they do clear out Bo. That's going to be big. But it's now a 2v2, and they have that full blue presence. But Yogu gonna shut that down from small box. That's gonna be Alep now out of the picture. And with Diffuser down, they're gonna have a crossfire holding that. It's up to Aiden's to try to split this up however she can. Flash goes out, doesn't catch anyone. There's still the fee holes. Shot's not connecting. Does take a little bit of champ damage onto Flacco. Major damage onto Aiden's. And there's the aggressive walk up towards half wall. Gets major damage. And Yoga's not ready as Aiden clears that up. That's going to be the double kill. This is now do or die. 15 seconds to go. Still has site presence, but no diffuser in hand. Has to swing this player over a church. And oh no! Pulls the SMG out right as the swing comes in. That's why you don't swing with your pants down, folks.
Yeah, and I think more of what went wrong for Seneca is like, yeah, they got good trades upstairs, but they were working a little slow. They were playing a little bit of the guess and check game where Crayon kind of walks in with a drone at his feet, and then he's like, he'll never be in gym. There's no way. And then he's in gym. They had to just guess and check when they could have taken that extra 5 seconds to clear that guy out, and it would have been an easy pick for Seneca.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty cut and clear win for App State. I mean, just being able to hold that off for so long. But yeah, again, this is that coordination gap. They did have it when they were pushing Jim later on, but again, you either do it all the way right or it goes all the way wrong. And we saw just that. I mean, you have to, like I said, really be close to it to dissect it, right? Clubhouse is one of those maps that doesn't exactly have a lot of soft breach to play around. In fact, I think this is one of the maps with the least amount of soft breach walls available in the game. There's really not a lot that you can just start blasting through, so you have to be quite concise in your positioning, especially for such a small map, and that really wasn't 100% there for Seneca. But I mean, still, great hold from App State, coming out with a 2-2 blows and stalling back all the way onto site safely when you have players still mostly on the second floor. That's a great situation to be in. That's exactly what you want. And so now, going back, it does look like we are going to be playing over in gym and bedroom this time around. Seneca, best bet, don't funnel. You got a lot of presence towards gym and bedroom. And it looks like they're now going to be trying to get that wall open in such a short moment. Yogu going to take a little bit of chip damage as well. So a bit of shots coming out there. And so it now comes down to where do they start?
I think
Man.
the interesting point is that I don't think they have the correct util for this. They brought the ash for the castles, but other than that, they don't really have much to try and assist with these walls when this is a site where they need to get everything open and kind of clear out that site. Even I'm getting caster curse with the wall getting open right in front of my face.
Well, I mean, that was only natural, right? When you open up that gym window, there's really nothing you can do there. It's basically already too late. And they didn't have anyone holding there towards gym to try to fight it off. But what I see is particularly scary for Seneca. They have Zozik on the IQ. They don't have any execute material, as you discussed. There's nothing available to them. So it really is just going to be raw gunfighting, which hasn't necessarily been in their favor. And we're seeing just that. Glue playing it aggressive, does manage to take Plumber. I believe that was from outside. It was. That's a pretty big setback for Seneca this early on when they have such little presence. They still got to get through CCTV, cash, construction. I mean, Logi, there's so much presence they need to ascertain. Though, that is a start. Zozik manages to take Bo. Gets a little bit too zealous over by Red Stairs after initially wiping out Plumber. So that is going to be a refrag. Very aggressive swing from Yogu. What was that all about? And there's the hop in. That's momentum. There's still one over by Construction. And I don't think Alec knows. Nope. Flacco going to pick that up. That's the intel gap. 5 drones. And what is it going towards? Not a whole lot, it seems. Aiden's, however, meanwhile, takes front, but Flacco does catch and finish off Zozik, meaning Aiden's is going to be the last one up. They know where his position is. That's going to be thanks to that Malusi intel. Has to look for one to get some kind of plant going. And there's the walk up from Flacco, ready to shut Aiden's down, and indeed he does. App State taking the second round clean as well.
Yeah, and just like you said, it was the lack of execution material that they had. They kind of just had to walk in, as you saw. Like Yogu dies and Aiden just walks in, jumps in, no intel, no nothing. They kind of just let themselves. They shot themselves in the foot. Even getting picks on the other side where they had the site clear, all they needed to do was kind of play into it. They didn't really have any util to help them take that space.
No, I mean, yeah, the util potential there was really not all that. But I mean, but also too, there just wasn't really a concerted effort. It was kind of more of a, you know, I hate to say it, but it was kind of just baiting, right? Looking for any kind of opportunity for Seneca to or for App State to overplay their part. That's not a winning recipe when you have the entire team doing that. Holding outside, holding windows, holding breach, holding about anywhere where there's a hole, aka a window. That's really not how you want to go about attacking on Clubhouse. You got to be a little bit more proactive than that. They're looking for that one to kind of slip in, but this isn't the map to do that, right? It's way too condensed to just say, oh, take one and go from there. You can't do that on Clubhouse. That's not the place for it. So there has to be a little bit more substance on the side of Seneca. But we are seeing quite a dramatic composition change. Crayon on the Maverick. You've got Zozik on the Yana. Even though some would argue that she's actually rather weak right now, which not going to comment on that. But also Aiden's on the Monty. So a little bit standard for this side specifically. And wow, what an aggressive pushback. A Nitro and then prone shots coming in from Glue to take Maverick. That is a pretty big setback coming in for them, as that means there really isn't a way for them to get that wall open as well, which is essential on CCTV. Again, redundancy. Where is it? It's not for Seneca, unfortunately, as they're now going to... Oh, it does look like we're able to get the left side. I stand corrected. But, I mean, imagine if they didn't catch that open. The amount of trouble that could have caused. But either way, losing a player that early on is a rough start. But Zozik, with a beautiful hold towards construction, that's going to be down by stock. Takes out Crayon. Plumber getting Flacco in turn. This might be an overextension coming in from Seneca, or App State, as Seneca now has the balcony as well. This is big presence and big trouble for App State with that many players now already stacked up at a powerful position. However, Glue does manage to take Zozik. That's going to be the pushback to allow for falling back onto site, which certainly helps the situation here. But you're still down a player on site. Yogu now under the pressure from Red Stairs, getting ready those Shimikas, and we see Aiden going for the plants as well. Glue back up to full health, already taking aggressive shots, trying to counteract this. Aiden's going to take significant damage, same with Plumber, but both still on the board, and Diffuser is going to go down. You got one on Repel outside on the Balk. Plumber catching Glue, that's on the run out, as well as Bo. That is huge, meaning that Yogu is going to have to take two, which is one on Balk, one on Stairs, and then one outside. And that Stairs is going to be the shields, and nope, that's not happening. Plumber sweeping it out. All it takes is one wall, and you get Balcony 2, all hell breaks loose. And indeed,
Great shot. Great shot by Varix to end that out, too. I think one of the biggest things is, like, yeah, Crayon did die early. He was first pick. He was the entry kill for Glue, but at the same time, he saved the round. He got the wall open. All they had to do was walk in through garage, get the plant down behind the server, and it was just free from there.
Free indeed it was. And so, yeah, we go back into basement. We have the full rotation, and Seneca has only picked up one round. But that's still going through a whole rotation, and now they have it set to where they can possibly try to turn this around harder. They know there's going to be a big roam presence, and so that is going to provide Seneca a lot of ammunition to start racking up rounds. They just have to be a little bit closer knit on their attack, which is well within me. Is anyone going to reinforce kitchen wall? You're seeing the same thing that I am, right? Is anyone going to... Okay.
I think this is a new strat.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is the new strat. The leave kitchen hatch completely unreinforced.
And then they're gonna Kate it. They're getting it.
Oh, they are reinforcing it very late on. Oh my gosh. And no one on Seneca is there to capitalize on that. Usually you want to keep a default drone in kitchen so you can spot that and immediately take that pick. That could have been in theory a freebie, but since no one was holding there, didn't happen. Front taking Alep down in turn. I think this is kind of where we were talking about before, that intel gap coming into full swing here. These players just completely unaccounted for on the side of App State, and it's taken Seneca for a whirl. However, Crayon does manage to take Glue down. That's going to be big. A very aggressive hold coming in from front. And how do you get away with that? No one knows. Oh my gosh, front taking on a triple kill there. This is the kind of intel gap we're talking about. 4 drones remaining, a minute into the round, and yet someone can walk up like that? Man, you can't let somebody do that to you. That is the kind of stuff that causes you to get swept in attack. Zozik now going on to hunt, looking for that CCT player, but still holding it down, not giving up this position. Bo goes down from Crayon. That's going to be the double kill. Shot does reveal the position, but Front takes the 4K now, getting Zozik down. It's now going to be up to Crayon, who's holding red, but he's out for blood. He wants potentially the ace here, but I think Crayon's going to give that opportunity with the shotgun, revealing the position. Takes a little bit of damage. Front, you know you want it. You know you want it. You're at 4 kills. Secure the ace, baby. But no, he's going to fully fall back into sight. But honestly, why wouldn't he? Crayon's completely shooked. He has little to no information available to him as far as drones go. This is going to be a problem where he has to move down quickly. Motion sensor going to spot him out and now has to clear. And there it is! Front securing the ace for Appalachian State. A big win for them and a massive blow to Seneca.
And it's what we saw last map too. The lack of intel, the lack of being sharp in your roam clear. You're pushing from one side. You have no crosses. You have no cutoffs. You're kind of just letting this Vigil roam free, do whatever the hell he wants for the whole round, and it's coming to bite Seneca in the butt.
Oh yeah, that really hurt. And I mean, like that drone efficiency. I'm sorry to bring it up so many times, but when you're playing a competitive match, there's several rule of thumbs to keep in mind. One, you should not be losing more than 2 drones in the prep phase. They've been doing that okay. The other thing, you should be losing the majority of your drones within a minute of the action phase. Most people aren't even in position to take a fight at that point. That's not acceptable. So yeah, I mean, that's gonna be the natural consequence. I'm sorry, I don't know how to tell it to you any more nicely, I suppose. You have to keep your intel game up, and that's just not happening. They keep running it down with little to no information, and it's hurting them so badly. So yeah, I do wonder how they're going to go about this going forward. It does look like they're immediately lining up for a much more streamlined default take, looking to get that CCT wall open, then transition to Jacuzzi. That's a much more sound approach than what we saw before, which was kind of a funnel around Jacuzzi and just kind of holding back, hoping someone overswings, which didn't exactly happen, to put it lightly. So, I mean, that's a better setup coming in from Seneca, especially they still have all of their drones available to them, which is what they sorely need. But it's one thing to have your drones, it's another when they're put into full use. And wow, great nade and a great follow-up as well, taking Bo down. That's going to be big space now, cutting deep into cash and even getting close to construction. And they know there's one close bedroom. They know there's one towards Logi getting stuck. Yogu way overplaying the part to try to fight Varix, but gets turned and burned, bringing it down to a 3v5. Construction control, logic control, drones. This is a big improvement coming in from Seneca. Much better coordination as well as intel to clear out Flacco. And they know there's one main as well. Tries to take that fight, but there's no one to follow up. But it doesn't matter as Aidens is now going down for the plant too. And you've got one still all the way in red. However, that is a pretty big flank coming in. It does pay off, able to down Aidens, but now completely isolated from his teammate Front. It's going to be an uphill battle to retake that space, and it won't happen. Zozik going to be shutting that down with a little bit of a toxic fire back as well. And Front to finish off, or Front to be finished off by Crayon. That was a whole different attack from what we saw before.
Yeah, it was honestly clinical. You get all the walls you need open. You got con wall, you got plat wall, you got everything you need open. You got the Logi hatch open. You drone, you walk in, you use your util. That's exactly the way you're supposed to play that site. Is you use your util, push them out of the positions that they're holding, and just continue to push forward. It's not a hard site to attack, but it's hard when you make it hard.
Oh yeah, most certainly. That's pretty much what we've been seeing as a theme here is on attack, pull that 9 mil and just blow your own foot out before the round even starts. So I mean, yeah, that was much, much better. And I think that's going to be a big wake-up call against App State. Because remember, both of these teams struggle with their attack significantly. And if Seneca can pull through another round, I think that's going to put App State in a little bit of a pinch, because then they're going to have to fix similar flaws that they've been pulling out as well, which I think is going to be much easier said than done, right? The theme has been improper drone and drone economy. And that's not easy to fix when you kind of have a run and gun mentality, which we've seen from pretty much both of them. And both have been kind of playing it excessively slow. So this is a really interesting development, especially as App State runs it back onto Gym and Bedroom, which I think is kind of a risky gambit, considering how that round played out in spectacular fashion. I don't think App State is going to be able to shake things up again as they did the prior, or as they attempted to last round. I don't think that's going to happen just by running it back. As we're now seeing, we're starting to get that full setup, all of those openings established onto CCTV, and now the walk-in as they make their push towards red. It's going to be coming down to how they stop this cash hold, and so far they do successfully take Bo down. That's going to be huge in their favor. Nitro goes out, not going to connect, and Glue is completely surrounded, and there's no one supporting. Where's your construction player? There's Flacco, able to take the double kill, manages to get away, actually, but it's too late. You still got one on the construction single, and that's big momentum. Alep going down, and that's going to be outside the balcony with Diffuser. That's going to put a big halt into the push, as you're now going to be forced into that rotate, where you've got two positions to potentially run out from, but still drops the position, so there is opportunity to grab Diffuser, go for the revive, but not if you overplay your part here. It's better to just fall back and let that revive go through, which they do manage, but again, they had to give up all of their building presence just to accomplish that. That's going to give a big reset to App State, even if they're at a significant player disadvantage. Though, there's still one Nitro in hand that is going to make things a little bit tenuous to try to regain that space if that Nitro is properly timed. Does look like they could possibly be gunning for a Gym walk up here in just a moment, which again, really risky when you got a Nitro player holding back towards logistics. And so far, it seems like Seneca recognizes how testy this situation can be, playing it slow, just looking to slowly make their way through. And we see the swing towards main. Aiden's going to take a significant amount of damage. Manages to catch Yogu out in the open. Remember your rotates and your setup. Now, going to be up to front, still up in main. Perfect position to go for the plant, unless front disrupts that. Able to take a nice swing on to Aiden's down. 20 seconds on the clock. Now going to go for the Diffuser, but the disruption will be everything here. Bit of an aggressive swing comes out. That's going to be from Alp. Oh, here comes a Nitro. Oh, but no one connects. And there it is. Zozak holding the corner, shutting down front, and giving them the 3-3 split.
And another like very good round by Seneca that was kind of not as good as the other one. They walked in, they took the space they needed, but it just wasn't the same as last round where they kind of used all their util in the correct spots. It's a little bit more sloppy. I don't think they used their intel as well as they could, but they got it done. That's all they really needed to do. They walked in, they planted. Great round.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was perfectly played, honestly. Other than the fact that they had Diffuser sitting outside on the balcony going down, that was a bit of a setback. But I mean, being able to reconsolidate was still excellently done. And okay, Kitchen Hatch is not completely opened into the action phase that time. Good job remembering that, App State. That had me sweating bullets for a solid minute. Except, oh wait, never mind. I forget.
We're
We're on
outside
the swamp.
swap.
Never mind.
maybe
Never mind.
Seneca's
Seneca's
a
not
little
even
bit
gonna happen.
Seneca's a little bit better about their site setup.
Yeah, thank goodness. I was not ready for that to happen again. I was looking at that like, no way. No way. Seneca's gonna freaking push this. And again, poor drone economy. It just never happened. I do like this positioning from Aleph, though, over towards Strip Club. A lot of teams don't like to hold this because it's easily get isolated, but look at how many players you've got sitting outside there. All it takes is one impact and a swing, but Aleph going to be opting instead for that intel gap. And that's still pretty big for the fact that they're not going to be expecting that, especially with no drones going through Strip Club. They don't have any information on him whatsoever. Drone completely spotting out Zozik there. Goes completely for the fallback, all the way back onto site. Oh my gosh, that's risky. Wow, Bo going for that shot, trying to get the immediate clear. And Zozik's going to pick up two, and they don't have diffuser either. Oh my gosh, why is everyone so exposed? What is this? App State! You're just letting Zozik pre-fire you into oblivion! Is it gonna happen again? No! Zozik really low HP. Secondary shotgun gets a lot of damage out. Almost takes out front. But her reign of terror is finally over. Wow, what a bloodbath. I mean, how many more ones can you give this demon? Goodness. Aleph taking Yogu as well. It's a wrap. Seneca is likely going to take this very clean. Finally has diffuser back in hand, but this is still a very troubling development. You can't let one person roll you like that with perfect intel. But I mean, to hold your composure like that, like Zozik did, I mean, we're talking about an absolute demon here. That is quite impressive to be able to hold out like that. Front taking Plumber down. That's going to bring it to a 1v3. Still a minute remaining. If Seneca overplays this substantially, there's a lot of room to come back here, especially if they just keep swinging, giving ones just like they did to Zozik. But Front is not going to give that opportunity, shutting down Crayon before she can even push out past main stairs.
Yeah, and Zozik is just that guy, unfortunately, for App State. Zozik just, I don't understand it, though. How do you have two drones on him? He's getting Jackal scanned, and you guys still neglect to put a pinch on him. You have the con wall open. You have the con window open. You have one in Logi. It's just kind of baffling to me how App State has all this pressure on this guy, and they're still letting him pick them off one by one by one.
Yeah, there's got to be a big miscommunication that happened there. That's got to be a big moral blow for App State. And honestly, I would say that was the time to call a timeout, to be 100% honest. When you have a mishap that big, you want to figure out, like, guys, what's going on here? Where is our coordination there? How did we all swing him one at a time, and he still managed to get major damage onto our last two players? That's the conversation that has to happen. You can't let someone do that much damage to you. I mean, that was effectively, in terms of health, like 90% of the entire team's health just wiped out in a flash. You really can't let that happen, especially when you're in a disadvantageous angle like that. That is scary stuff, right? And big for Seneca to be able to pull off something like that, as it shows that App State ain't possibly getting their first round anytime soon. But remember, usually you go through a first rotation, and then that's when things start to click in on the attack. So don't hold them out of the count just yet. Zozik holding a really nice angle onto Garage. But does Front know that there's someone potentially holding there? Getting ready to swing that angle. That could be big, but misses the shot. Zozik's ready. Has better preparation there. Able to take a big pick out. That's going to be the entry now out of the picture. Front, who's currently 11-7, which is still very respectable KD, I might add. But either way, that's still a big loss. But here's the thing that I kind of have to, wonder is, look at how spread out we're seeing everyone at the moment. I don't think there's a single person on App State who is stacked up, which means any given person who dies on App State is solid ground loss. There's no taking that back. It's just gone, especially when you know one's on a repel, and Zozik's gonna go for it with the secondary shotgun. There it is. Tries to repel down, but it's too late. You gotta be ready for that. You kind of have to, especially when you get spotted out. That's going to be a big loss for App State. Yogu going down as well. Seneca putting the attack onto App State. Pretty devastating situation for them with a minute and 20. Though Glue does slap back, manages to take Aleph, has big presence over in logistics, and there's the swing coming out from bedroom, minimal damage going through, the smoke canister coming, forcing him to rotate out into Logi, as well as Bo and Jim tries to go for diffuser, but gets completely knocked out, leaving it all up to Glue. Gets a nice shot onto Aiden's, but gets completely pinched thanks to Seneca's well-timed rotation.
And great rotation as it was, but at the same time, it's like as you said earlier, App was very spread out. They I said this before the game. I said whoever's going to be the more coordinated team is going to win this game, and it is looking like all of App State is just not on the same page of what they want to do.
It's certainly not the way that you want things to roll out, for sure. I gotta say, App State has to kind of lock it in pretty much now or never, because Seneca has a little bit of a bolster, right? They won one attack round prior to the rotation being completed, which was a big step in their favor. And now they're in the situation where if App State doesn't take this, that's pretty dangerous territory, which means you have to get a perfect sweep onto the second rotation, which means winning out, worst case scenario, basement every single time if Seneca chooses to do so, which they will have the option. As keep in mind, basement is still, at the end of the day, one of the most defender-sided sites for Clubhouse, and they will have that flexibility. They didn't have that when, or App State didn't have that because Seneca was able to win out a round, and that poses a unique challenge to App State. They're not going to have that same level of flexibility unless they can take this round here, which is going to be really tough as they've pivoted to Cash, or yeah, CCTV and Cash after losing both Basement and yeah, Nitro going out. That's going to get shot out. Not going to connect. Bo going to get taken out. That's going to be thanks to Plumber. That's a big, big setback. That's a lot of execution potential that has been lost. Front does manage to take Crayon down, but that's not going to be any active utility. You still got Wamai, and you still have Recruit that you have to deal with as far as active utility go. Zozik doing his thing, letting it contest stock aggressively. Gets a little too overzealous, though. Shots just not lining up as Front finishes him off. That is going to put Seneca at a one-person disadvantage. There's a lot of playing room here. Another swing? What are you doing? That's too many numbers to put on one person. But does look like Plumber's going to be putting the fight to them, looking to possibly try to take an H. Ace manages to take Flacco down. And that's where things get tricky. You have Monty so close. Diffuser already going down. That's going to be a challenge. Looks to go for the Nitro here. Does get off Diffuser. That Nitro is going to be huge in staving off that plant. Not the flash goes out. Doesn't connect. There's the next Diffuser attempt. Can't get those shots quite down. Diffuser attempt going through, but that bout player Front going to be rotating through at just the right time.
And I think what sets this round apart is that we're seeing what happened to Seneca last game on Nighthaven, where they kind of like, they know they're winning the game, but then they start acting like they're, you know, the best players ever. You saw Zosik down there just taking a one, kind of whiff, but just him not really concerned about his life. All his players not really concerned about their life, leaving Varix in the 1v3 situation, which is kind of impossible with Breach open and Plant going down behind the server rack. So it's just kind of they're loosening up a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of loose play style there that probably shouldn't have happened, and that pretty much puts App State right where they need to be as far as placement goes. They were able to take a round, which gives them a lot of comfort space against Seneca, which is badly needed since they're one round away from match point. But they're still right on the tail. But you're now having to attack basement. We knew this was going to be coming up. We knew it was inevitable. They got crushed here thanks to a strong roam coming out from Seneca. And so now they're going to have to try to rectify that. But so far, all we're seeing is Plumber, Doc, all the way up into gym and bedroom, which they know there's going to be someone there. And it does look like they're going to be going for a full roam sweep. And he does fall all the way back, which means so early on, already everyone is pretty much back onto site, which might sound great on paper that you're not losing anyone. It's not so great with strong vertical. However, App State doesn't really have the composition for that. Other than Bo on Buck, it seems like a lot of this is invested heavily towards a clear, which is not existent, which might actually be in Seneca's favor here. When you've got that much roam clear that's kind of on your tail, it's kind of smart to just have one person kind of do their thing. But here's the dangerous part. Zozik has been caught. They know he's in strip club. Crayon does manage to get front on a walk up. That's going to be big. But now this is just a time sink. How long does it take until they get Zozik down? That's going to be the question as they get ready for their walk up. And they do have a little bit of follow up. That's going to be from Glue. It's just a matter of time till Zozik gets down. This is not a good situation as Flacco goes from outside thanks to that droning. That's good drone economy right there. Able to take him clean out with minimal time loss. And that's going to allow them to have full first floor control. But the timing is now equalized, and it's a 1-for-1, so no player discrepancy there. And with full utility to set up vertical, Seneca is going to have a bit of a struggle on their hand when it comes to the execute, especially if they move down towards basement early. But Alep holding very aggressively towards main, waiting for Glue to walk down. It's going to be toward the armory. Players sure love that weapons position, and so we see in just a moment where it's going to go from there. Smoke's going down, but is he going to be ready for that close swing? I don't know. Holding that prone position, that's what's got me worried. Alep taking Bo down. That's going to be catching Moto. Plumber shutting down Flacco as well. This is a big collapse onto App State. Wow! Seneca not even giving a chance to have a semblance of an execute. Sheesh.
I feel like the execute was a little premature. They weren't really prepared for it. They didn't have the ops for it, especially. The buck being your only source of vert is kind of bad for this. And here comes a timeout by App State. But I feel like the buck
Sorely needed.
being your only source of vertical is kind of biting them. And they did a really, really good job of roam clearing. They brought the jackal. They found Zosik early. They knew what to do, but now what do you do from there? All you have for execute materials is smokes, and after that you're kind of lost. You're kind of just jumping in, which is what they did, and it was not only mistimed, it was also like misread.
Yeah, no, there was a big misread there. There was a lot of work that needed to be done, and it didn't happen. So the timeout was certainly necessary because there have been big coordination missteps there. And that was just yet another for App State. And they're now pretty much out of options. They have to win these next two rounds. And for basement to kind of have collapse like that, don't get me wrong, it was kind of going to be in Seneca's favor regardless, especially with how Zozik was able to equalize the timeout. That just wasn't the right answer to that situation. The way that they kind of trickled in. And that's what we've seen a lot is trickling in. That doesn't do you any good. You want to be kind of united in your push, not one person going and everyone following. That's a stagger. Stagger is not how you attack. You want to be well timed and close together. That's just not been happening. Their clearing is getting a lot better, but Seneca really hasn't been investing as heavily in their roam. So that does pose some potential trouble. However, we do still have one over towards main lobby, looking to possibly aggressively hold as they try to get this CCTV and Cash taken down. Now it's going to be Zozik who will be falling back. So none of that vertical shenanigans coming out from them. But how they take CCTV and Cash is going to be everything. This has pretty much been what they have reared for, and they are in good position. They've got the construction single wall. They've also got the construction window. So there's a lot more play around here to try to contest that if they time this correctly. That's the big question.
I'm wondering if Zosik called this ash out to his teammate on Raft, or if Crayon's just kind of lost.
Hard to tell, but in either which way, the push comes through. Flacco going to take out. That's going to be quite a significant development in their favor. Getting rid of that construction player starts to create a ridge, especially while continuing that hold. This means that now Zozik is pretty much entirely cut off and going to have to try to work his magic here. But they do have eyes on him. Intel going out. A little bit of damage goes through. Does manage to make it all the way out. Crayon still holding red. This is a risky gamble. Gets a little bit of damage onto front. Smoke canister goes through. Again, still big gamble. Whether it pays off, hard to tell, as it does mean they effectively have that cash control. Front going to take quite a lot of damage. Zoza getting flushed by Bo, and Crayon's completely isolated. Where's the fallback? App State's not even going to make that opportunity possible, and that's thanks to that construction clear, which was big. But Plumber able to shut down Bo, looking to possibly get even more action in, but Front's not having any of that. Great hold coming in, and a little prone drop coming from Glue to seal the deal. See what I did there? Glue, seal. God, I love myself.
But honestly, I would say great round out of the timeout for App State. You know, they came in, they used their drones, they played the window cutoffs very well. They knew where they were extending. They knew where Seneca was extending. They had a very red, like heavy red side setup. So all they had to do is they had to play the cutoffs. They played the cutoff angle into con window, and it's just like from there it's just, you know, hold the angle.
Pretty much. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If App State is backed into a corner, let them swing themselves to death, and swing themselves to death they most certainly did. You had Zozik pretty much isolated on Cash. You had, I believe it was Aiden's all alone towards, or it might have been Crayon actually, towards Red Stairs. There just really wasn't a way to get them out. And that's a little troubling because that's what App State was able to get right, is clearing out these players. And it does look like they're going to commit to that yet again, though they don't have the smoke this time around, so they might stagger off of that faster, which I think is going to be really important here. And it does look like that's the philosophy they're adopting, as you only have Zozik towards Red Stairs, no rotate set. So it does look like they're kind of focused on trying to hold Cash off as long as possible rather than go anything too stylish. And there's Zozik trying to be stylish, and Glue going to immediately pre-fire that out. Call it timing, call it bad luck, call it what you want, but Zozik was out in the open, right in the line of sight for that door to get open, and shot out in turn. That's already quite a dramatic loss. Zozik is not really putting out the same killer numbers that we saw in the first game. Only 10-9 so far, as we are potentially approaching overtime, and they're getting that CCTV wall rapidly open. Again, much better setup from Seneca to be able to fall back here, especially with the goal towards Red Stairs. And now you got vertical players below. They are not messing around. App State wants to get this CCTV and Cash out of the way as soon as humanly possible, especially with Bo holding out towards the window. But you've got players invested to try to contest that position. So I don't think we're going to see the same level of splintering as we did before. But keep in mind, there's still that rotate soft spot that's available, which could serve potentially as a struggle point for being able to fall back, as you still have one holding it to the death, and that's going to be Crayon. You have at least one Alep looking to potentially support here, but how that plays out depends on if they can get this tight knit. Crayon getting a very clean shot on the front. That's going to be a huge pick. A lot of damage coming out from below. That's going to be thanks to those bees. You can't get off the table. You're basically stuck. Brilliant use of utility coming out from Yogu, able to keep him pinned down to the spot. But they have to find a way to get this clear, which is easier said than done when Crayon's watching in one door you're coming from and you still have one close to the whip. And that's going to be Alep as Crayon takes Yogu down as well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, like you said. taking a double kill and still holding on with despite all the Bs and all the intel. Another swing comes through. Crayon finally shutting it down. And that's going to weaken Alp's position just a bit. Still with construction control. Well, it's actually pretty much uncontested at the moment. But now App State has free reign to be able to take that with Bo, but with such low HP. All it takes is a well-timed swing from either Alep or Aiden's to be able to take him down. 30 seconds on the clock. Has to start getting some building presence eventually, but so far, we really aren't seeing a whole lot. Could possibly be expecting a gym window hop in, which could be a risky gambit as they do have crouch hide holes to watch that. Aiden's goes down. That's going to be thanks to Glue doing his thing towards Logi Hatch yet again. That's been a weak spot. However, Owlip does shut that down this time around. Plumber going to take some significant damage. Bo going to go down. Same with Glue. And it's all going to be up to Flacco to try to get a plant down. Manages to catch Plumber on a very clean shot. Nitro going out. And there's no time as Seneca will be able to effectively stop the plant and win this matchup.
Seneca takes it 2-0. Very, very well played by Seneca on this map. Better than they did on Nighthaven, kind of choking around on the attacking half. Or the defending half, sorry.
Oh yeah, they weren't going to let that happen. No way on earth. I mean, that's kind of how you were going to expect it, especially after what we saw last time, on Nighthaven. Like you said, just letting way too many opportunities slip up and present themselves. This time, not going to happen again, especially when you consider how much closer knit they were playing. And the coordination on the defense was really good too, coming from Seneca. The fallback was perfectly timed, right? Rather than Alep overcommitting, potentially getting himself killed when App State was doing this cash clear quite well, they were able to back off. And they had at least a response ready for Glue, right? Just better coordination and a better read onto App State's trajectory, which wasn't really there for App State in turn. But I guess my last question for you before we go to interview is, what do you think as far as both teams going forward in AR6? Are we thinking that these teams really have something special to whip up some higher standing, or do you think that there's some kind of fundamental team dynamics that need to be worked out? That's at least the front that I'm taking.
I think, honestly, I'm pretty sure today App State was playing with one sub. They could. I think they have bigger and better things that they are going to end up doing later in the day or later in the season. I think on the other side, Seneca, they look good. They're very gun heavy, but I think one of their biggest things that they need to iron out is, are we getting too aggressive? We need to start droning. If they can get those things ironed out, it's going to be a very good season for them.
Yeah, I can definitely see the potential. And yeah, the team play definitely is going to need a little bit of work. But with that said, we do have an interview coming in from Seneca. So we're not done quite yet. Stay tuned and we'll get the scoop on what really happened down in the ground.
sinking till we're halfway underground. It's not over, pull me closer, don't let go, not now. This emptiness is more than I can bear. Would you leave it all behind? Rewind, rewind. Would you take me back in time to find peace of mind? Would you leave it all behind? 'Cause I can't keep going like this. Never catch a grip. Would you leave it all behind? Rewind. Would you leave it all behind? Cause I can't keep going like this. Never catch a grip. Would you leave it all behind? Rewind. Would you leave it all behind? Where did we get lost in this? Those summers I do miss. When we were just two kids without a hitch. As soon as our feet hit the ground, we're running out this town. 'Cause we both know there's more to life than this. Would you leave it all behind? Rewind, rewind. Would you take me back in time to find peace of mind? Would you leave it all behind? 'Cause I can't keep going.
All right, and we are back, and we are now here with Crayon. Oh boy, the bad boy of AR6. So, welcome and congratulations for the win.
Thank you, thank you.
So, I think Highest has a steaming question for you. Highest,
Uh,
take it away.
uh,
Start it off.
Great game today, Crayon. You didn't
Thank
do
you.
nothing. How does it feel getting carried by Barracks and Zizek all day?
It feels great. It feels great to have two highly skilled players that get lots of kills that do a lot of the heavy lifting for me, where I can focus on other things. So shout out to those
Yeah,
two.
yeah, you did a really good job opening the walls today. I'll say it.
Thank you, thank you.
But yeah, so I guess I kind of want to start off with Night Haven. We saw a lot of intel gaps and kind of just swinging aggressively, almost to the grave on the attack. Would you mind giving me and a little bit of that on Clubhouse too? Would you mind giving me a little bit of insight on what the intel economy was looking like? Because it did start to clean up on Clubhouse on your attack in half, but I just wanted to kind of know what the situation was there. There seemed to be a bit of misrunning on both sides.
Yeah, there was a lot of uh there was some rounds where we just didn't have, and I think it's part of like the double-edged sword of having aggressive, highly skilled players is like they're gonna want to like walk in and ego child everybody, and sometimes it works and it wins the round, and sometimes it doesn't, and we have to like scramble to come back. So there was a bit of that. I won't lie, I played pretty poorly on labs. I don't think that map should have gone OT, but it ended up going OT, and I put that on myself more than my teammates. But um,
Understandable.
like there was like definitely, I thought our attacks, started out pretty well on labs, and then it kind of like faltered a little bit, but we pulled it through an OT, so I'm happy about that. And same with club, like we started a little weak, like we kind of played into their basement rooms too much. We probably were better off just rushing or hitting site quicker or something. But um, you know, we we read better into like their gym bedroom holds, and uh, to be honest, got a little bit lucky when they played CC too. But other than that, like it was a close game. App State played well, so kudos to them.
Speaking of overtime, let's kind of dive into that a little bit more. We saw App State was maintaining a pretty consistent defense streak against you guys when you were on Night Haven Labs. But the second that overtime came in, and you were starting on the attack, it was like a flip of the script, not even close. I mean, pretty clean. What
Yeah.
changed there once it got there? Was there like a spark? What was kind of
Um,
the defining change that allowed you to do that?
I think so. To be honest, like by the end of map one, we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit, or like for the attack half at least. But going into OT, I was pretty confident. Like I knew what they were doing with their top floor hold. So I think we read pretty well into that, and we also, Zosik made some pretty good plays, and Varix made some pretty good plays to help us drive through that round. But it was just kind of like we played enough rounds against their defenses to understand like what they were doing.
Gotcha. And speaking of Zozik, and maybe you have a little bit of insight on that being on the team where it unfolded. There was one round, I believe it was Zozik on Frost, who pretty
Yeah.
much able to sweep over in construction. Now the audience did have a little bit of insight into what was going on. I suspected the same. It was an intel gap. Did Zozik know that there was a bit of a gap there in closing him out? Or did he just kind of say screw it and decide to just go gung ho? What was
Uh,
that all about? Because that was kind of ridiculous.
I mean, he definitely went a little bit gung ho that map. Um, but he is a very smart roamer. Like he knows what he's doing. Uh, and I trust him when he wants help on the roam, and I trust him when he's like just let me die and let me kill time. So he's just a really good player, and we saw that today. He played really well.
Okay. And now, what are your thoughts on the more fatalist holds that you guys were going around on the defense? We saw that towards CTV and Cash quite a lot. We saw that especially. I can't remember who was playing Goyo that round. Might have been you, if I'm not
The very
mistaken.
last round I was playing Goyo. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys typically go for those type of fatalist plays where it's basically I'm not moving an inch, so you either have to kill me or we're just gonna sit and do this dance all day? Because there was a lot of fatalist positions where pretty much you were backed in the corner, but instead of trying to force a rotate, just pretty much held it out to the bitter end. Is that something that you guys incorporate into your playstyle quite a bit, or is that just kind of how things ended up playing out?
That was something that it was like, we saw like the round before we played Jim and they won it pretty decisively. And I was like, I was trying to kill time playing top red when I was playing smoke, and we just lost too many bodies, or we didn't kill enough time and lost too many bodies. So I that was like a read by me just to try and adjust to what they were doing, and like they were taking that like CC side pretty heavy. So I was just like, I'm just gonna fucking oh sorry, I'm just gonna die in cash, and then I got I'll be honest, like I got pretty lucky on my second kill sitting up on that town desk there, but it did end up like working out. So yeah, I'm happy about that.
Gotcha. Now, we did kind of see a little bit of a pivot after what happened was, I believe it was Alep got cleared out on Bandit over in construction, and then you had both Smoke and someone else who was completely isolated on Red and Cash. What happened there? What was the mentality to kind of hold that out? That seemed really disadvantageous when you had that split between bedroom and then CCTV and Cash and Red Stairs. Did that Was that intended to kind of just be more of an aggressive hold before a little bit of an adaptation like we saw with you propped up on the table? Or was that just kind of unfortunate circumstances to lose
Ye-
Alep in such a way?
Yeah, it's usually like you know we have like default setups for like every map, every site. Um and we usually like every map is like different. Like some maps we play more aggressively, some we don't. Um that was like a round where it was just kind of like things got very messy, and like some like that stuff just happens like every now and then. So I wasn't like I'm not too worried about that, but like there is like times like we do need to improve on like communicating where we are more. Like it didn't cost us too much today, thankfully, but sometimes like we're not like sitting, or we're not saying where we're sitting, and we're not aware of where everyone is at especially at the dire parts of the round, like the end of the round. So
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be an opportunity of exploitation if not corrected. So I
mhm.
wish you the best of luck on that. But with that said, do you have any shout outs or final thoughts before we close this one out for tonight?
um I'll shout out my teammates. Varix and Zosek played really well today. In and Alep, they played well too. Shout out to App State for putting up, like they played pretty well. I could have gone either way. So kudos to them. And shout out to shout out to Akron, who we now have to play next week probably. So yeah,
Oh
that'll
yeah.
be we'll see how that goes. We'll see.
Yeah, Akron sure is a tough cookie, so I wish you the best of luck on that. But with that being said, folks, that's going to be from everything from us over at Atlantic R6. My name is Piercing, and I'm joined here by Hyas. Hyas, thank you for joining me under, I
Thank you
know,
for
not
having
so
me.
ideal circumstances. Yeah, of course. But with that, that's everything we've got for you, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to production, specifically Titanium Titan and for Cal to help make this possible. And with that said, that's going to be it from me. Hold out. You're almost there to the weekend where you can chillax and take a little bit of a breather. But with that, that's going to be everything. Thank you and take it easy.